Thank you very much, Chair. My question's on the flight training issues for CASA. Do you accept that, due to current regulations, pilots are now required to conduct 2 checks per year in each aircraft type that they fly? Is that correct?
Senator Pip Spence, CEO, Director of Aviation Safety, CASA. Yeah, we actually provided some information to Senator Colbeck from the last one, so yes, that what you said was correct.
So given it to me too. Okay, so given that some pilots can fly up to 4 different types, this would mean 8 checks per year. If you were, for example, to fly 4 different types of aircraft, you would have to do 8 checks per year. That's correct?
I think that's correct.
Yeah, Senator Andreas Marcellia, Executive Manager, Stakeholder Engagement and Flight Crew Licensing sits within my portfolio. So my understanding is that that twice yearly check is only required for commercial air transport operations, so it's not for everyone. And it's usually done as part of an operator's proficiency check. So an operator, an airline, would typically put their crew through those kind of checks. Whether it's on a specific aircraft type individually, I'd have to check for you, but it's generally done as part of an operator's program. So
the commercial pilots, if you're flying different aircraft, for each aircraft you have to do 2 checks per year?
2 checks per year, air transport, yep.
Okay. Do you accept that on aircraft that are not supported by a simulator in the country, so if you don't have a simulator for that particular aircraft, pilots are forced to repeat dangerous simulated engine failure manoeuvres in every aircraft type that they fly, which multiplies the risk for pilots who operate more than one type?
Senator, I might see if my colleague, Mr Campbell, might have any information on that. The way that you're posing the questions, I wouldn't mind taking it on notice because we don't have the information in front of us, and I'm just worried we're going to say that it's exactly as you've described it, and we just need to, particularly around the actual numbers that we're talking about here. But I think Mr Campbell can certainly answer on the simulator question.
Hi, Senator Steve Campbell, Executive Manager, National Operations and Standards. We've had in place for many years, which is an international standard, that above a certain size of aircraft, generally transport category aircraft, the requirement is to use simulators. That's standard. And below that, there's an option that if it's available in Australia, they can use it in Australia.
Okay. Simulators are very costly. My understanding is around $1 million for a simulator.
I'd say a lot more.
A lot more than that. So if you're a small general aviation company, you're not really going to be able to put your money into a simulator. So if you don't have access to a simulator, then you're going to have to do this in a real life situation.
Well, if
in a practice training situation.
Yeah, I think it depends what you call in general aviation. So the smaller general aviation that we know at below 5,700 kilos won't be required to use simulators.
Yep.
But for other aircraft that are in that sort of scope that require simulator training, that's been in force for many decades.
Yep. So, but you are expected to repeat it twice a year to do these dangerous manoeuvres. That's correct?
The emergency training, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So can you also confirm that in more than 20 years there have been 0 fatal real turbine engine failure accidents during takeoff or missed approach? So none in real life, but multiple fatalities during training?
I don't have that detail in front of me. Sorry, Senator.
All right.
But
Senator, we'd be very happy if you've got a specific example that you would like us to provide more information on. We'd be very happy to take that on notice, because I don't think we do anything that's dramatically different to what other national aviation authorities do in this space, and we are genuinely, if there's specific examples you've got of where someone's got raised an issue with you, we'd be very happy to look into that into detail.
I do. I actually have a snapshot of some very specific examples of where pilots have died while doing these training checks. So in 1995, 2 pilots died doing a takeoff decision speed cut in Tamworth. In 2003, 2 pilots died doing a loss of control asymmetric practice in Bankstown. In 2010, 2 pilots died doing a simulated takeoff decision speed cut in Darwin. In 2017, 3 pilots died doing a simulated engine failure after takeoff. in Renmark in South Australia. In 2019, 2 pilots died due to a simulated engine failure after takeoff in Mareeba in Queensland. And in 2025, just a few months ago, 2 pilots died doing a proficiency check. It's still under investigation. One was a very experienced training officer and another a commercial pilot. So in total, of the ones that I've been able to find on open source, it's 13 people that have died doing very risky manoeuvres as part of the training checks. And my understanding is that now they have to do more of them across a lot of different types of aircraft. So would you accept having the understanding of that and also the understanding that, you know, pilots are dying practicing failures that almost never kill any pilots in real life, you know, you're forcing repeated exposure to known fatal risk manoeuvres, and that contradicts the requirements to reducing risk?
Senator, what I would say is I'd like to go through the details, go through the information in a bit more detail than that. I totally understand we lost one of our own CASA employees as one of those people that you mentioned in those numbers, so it is something we take very seriously and we have looked at it. There's I suppose with everything there is that need to make sure that people have had that proficiency checking, but I'm happy to go through the numbers that you've provided in a bit more detail and also explain why we're doing what we're doing. Take that on notice, Senator.
Thank you. That does lead me to my next question, Ms Spence. Can you point to any evidence showing that repeating the same manoeuvres across aircraft types saves lives instead of risking them?
I don't have that with me, Senator, no.
Do you accept that piloting hand skills required to safely manage asymmetric flight and simulated engine failure manoeuvres are fundamentally the same across different aircraft types and systems?
And that's why I'd like to take the original answers we gave you and look at those just to make sure that we're not speaking at cross purposes about what we're actually requiring people to do.
Okay. Have you looked at modernising your training requirements? My understanding is that this legislation is based on technology, aircraft technology from the 1970s. Have you looked at modernising the legislation so that, you know, you can look at actually the safety features of the aircrafts that pilots are flying these days?
I think that it's an excellent suggestion. We're constantly looking to see how we can improve things. There's a lot of work that's being done through the International Civil Aviation Organisation, also looking at more competency-based training rather than repeating similar kind of activities. It's not the we don't have any obvious answers for the issues that you're raising, but we are always willing to engage with industry if they've got suggestions about how we can do things better.
Okay. And just to sort of come back to question of notice that I submitted, have you ever counted the number of pilots killed in training while doing these exercises?
I don't have that number. And sorry, my colleague has pointed out to me that based on the information we provided, there have been 4 accidents, and the four flights resulted in 8 fatalities.
Okay, so the numbers that I managed to get in open source was a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So is it the responsibility of CASA to be tracking this? I mean, these are pilots that are doing the things that you're asking them to do, and now more often, repeatedly every year. And look, these pilots are people with children.
Yeah.
Okay? They're people with children, and you're making them do more tests, and they're very, very risky tests. These single-engine go-arounds can kill them instantly. And it is, you know, that this stuff happens in real life. It's almost zero chance. And you're making some of these pilots do it 8 times a year, and they have families.
Senator.
So if another pilot dies performing a mandatory simulated engine failure, will CASA accept responsibility for creating that risk?
Senator, we'll look at the information you provided. Obviously, it's always distressing when there are fatalities, and as I said, CASA felt it very strongly when we lost one of our own. And I totally understand what you're saying about real life. These are lives that, you know, they've lost their family, they've lost their future. We'll see what the ATSB recommends as a result of their investigation, which is currently underway for the most recent accident. And as I said, we'll look to see the details. But as we've said, we don't just make these things up to put people at risk.
Okay, thank you.